Hello there. Thanks for staying with us here on the JoyNews platform. And this is UPFront. We're doing this special one on the media budget review. We've lessened the burden on the people of Ghana. That's the assertion of the Finance Minister, Dr. Kassia Latofosin, who's today presented his mid-year review of the 2025 economic plan and budget of government. As part of the broad plan, he set out to reduce inflation and to beat down the depreciation of the Ghana Cedi. For the Finance Minister, he succeeded in that and he is successfully turning the corner. Listen to excerpts of that address on the floor of Parliament today.
An economy in deep distress, a country with dispirited citizens. Trust and faith in our leaders were at all-time low. The fundamentals were not only weak, but broken. Mr. Speaker, and the misery and suffering were palpable. Mr. Speaker, in just 6 months, in fact, under 200 days, under the decisive leadership of President John Mahama, we have begun to change the story. Mr. Speaker, President Mahama's economic management model is working. The turnaround is in sight. Mr. Speaker, the signs of economic progress are visible and measurable. Mr. Speaker, maize, maize. One sack, which used to be sold for 1,600 Ghana cedis in January, is now being sold for 1,450. And Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Agriculture has promised that it will go down even more. Mr. Speaker, the price of Yas sanitary pad, which was 25 Ghana cedis in January, is now going for 15 Ghana cedis. 15 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, palm fruit, one olonka, which used to be sold for 40 Ghana cedis, is now being sold for 25 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, this is the reset President Mahama promised. This is the reset President Mahama promised. It has been 6 months of hard work. We have lessened the burden on households and businesses.
Okay, so he was instructive there, and clearly for him, the economy is back on a sound footing. But what are the outstanding works for the NDC administration, knowing that there is 3 years plus for this government to run this country and to deliver on the expectations for the people? A number of outstanding issues promised in the manifesto of the political party, which ought to be addressed, including some outstanding issues such as the Women's Development Bank, where it is, what's the status, and the questions as to when that bank will take off. All of these questions are emerging today, a reason for which there ought to be a proper assessment of what it is that the Finance Minister has done today. Then there's a talk about the economy and the Cedi as well. Don't forget. So how about we break down the issues and start off with reactions? Joining me on UPFront tonight, here with me, Blessed Soga. We're joined by Thomas Walanyo Tepo, who's Member of Parliament for the people of Hokwe constituency in the Volta region. He's a member of the Finance Committee in Parliament, so has a grasp of some of the key issues feeding government's agenda for this season, a reason for which the Finance Minister has put them up. Then there's the aspect of the Cedi that we'll look at. We'll be joined by economist Courage, but he was lead at GCB Capital, and he will definitely share his views as well with us. We have so much more coming your way, but let me start off with the Honourable Member of Parliament, because in Parliament today, we saw a walkout. And of course, we'll give you some graphic representation of how the minority side of the House walked out today, simply because they did not agree with happenings on the floor of Parliament. And most especially, they believe the attack on their members are escalating, a reason for which that ought to be dealt with instead of a media review process. A reason for which they were clad in black, patrolled the streets of Accra, petitioning the diplomatic community, and also ending up at the seat of government, Jubilee House, where the president was also petitioned. So you see there, those in the shots, the majority side, booing the minority side and asking them to stage a walkout. And that's what exactly happened, as you can see on your screens now. The Honorable Chepo Walanyo is with us, and you were just looking at this playback of what transpired in the House when you were on the other side, asking your own colleagues to leave the House, away, you said, as members of the majority. Are you happy seeing a playback of what transpired earlier today?
Good evening, and then let me say a very good evening to your viewers and then listeners. I'm not a happy person with what happened today. This is a house that is supposed to welcome the finance minister with the good news that he has for the people on the economy. Every part of our life revolves around the economy. Whether you like the finance minister or not, whether you are in his party or not, so far as you are a Ghanaian, everything you do revolves around whatever the finance minister does. So I was sad to see our colleagues. We were hearing the rumor since yesterday that they will stage a walkout. But this morning, there have been a lot of negotiations trying to calm them down, but they took a stand that, according to them, is from their party head office and leadership that asked them to stage this walkout. So they did this in the interest of their party, but not in the interest of the constituents that voted them into power. So it's a sad situation, but I'm happy the majority, all of us were on board to receive the finance minister with the good news that he has brought to us about the economy. One leg of the reason why they left, I know it will be very difficult for them to defend whatever the finance minister might have some the good news. It happened during the main budget presentation. After everything was presented, their expectation was that there will be taxes, new taxes will be introduced, because there is no government that comes the first year who don't touch, who don't introduce new taxes. So all those things were aired out in the morning by their leadership. Because all those things did not happen during the presentation of the finance minister, we saw what happened to the finance minister, how he was, quote unquote, disgraced in even his presentation after the finance minister's budget presentation. So they foresaw that what the finance minister would say will be something that will be very appreciated by Ghanaians.
Are you telling me now that there's no merit at all in these? Are you telling me now that there's no merit at all in the claims being made by the minority side of the House? Attacks on their members. These are clearly human rights breaches which ought to be addressed as well.
Yes, they made this point. This is about the third time they are trying to use proceedings to start proceedings because of this Ablekuma issue. I've been in the House for 2 consecutive times. The minority leader raised it, and his chief whip also made a statement, official statement, which has been captured by Hansard, parliamentary Hansard, about this same Ablekuma issue. Even at the time of the swearing in, they were given the opportunity to make a statement before they staged a walkout. So I don't know how many times they will want to stage a walkout. Look, did we do the same when Ayawaso happened? No. We are doing something in the national interest, which not benefiting only NDC MPs or our constituents. It benefits their constituents as well, the 88 constituencies. It benefits them as well. And as the representative of the people, if you don't sit and listen to the finance minister to speak about their hearts, what turns around the heart of the country, then what is your duty in parliament? You are supposed to be there, listen, scrutinize it, so that whether what the finance minister came to present is correct or not. You are supposed to analyze, scrutinize, so that you hold the finance minister accountable.
Exactly. That's why indeed we need the minority. We don't need a rubber stamp parliament. Obviously, what we saw, and that's what we saw many of you doing, cheering on the finance minister, with none of you making any intervention to say, well, a few things didn't go right.
Exactly. You see, that was what I said. This morning, there were a lot of negotiations. There were a lot of meetings that were held in the Speaker's office, Deputy Speaker's office. I was there since morning. We try to do everything that we do. Look, with our numbers, yes, we can do without them. But we try to open our arms, listen to them. What is the problem?
Okay, I mean,
and we
I get
iron
it.
everything out.
The politics,
iron everything out.
Yeah, the politics will go on. The politics will go on, but I want us to focus on substantial matters because there's a lot in the budget, and I believe even for your constituents. You are a member of parliament for the Hokwe constituency. Is it the Eastern Corridor Road, I believe? All of these road networks fall within partly your constituency. You were there smiling in the crowd when the finance minister was listing a number of roads that he says was going to be captured. And part of them actually run through the Hokwe constituency where you're a member of parliament. Is this just a talk shop, another promise? Because it's not taking off the ground yet, is it?
In fact, I'm the happiest person. I'm the happiest member of parliament today, speaking to you and speaking to my constituents, the Hokwe, the good people of Hokwe. You know, this Eastern Corridor Road is the heart of the country because it links the north and the south. And this road has been there for years under NDC1, NDC2, MPP1, MPP2 till a date. There were a lot of reports about this road that have been published, that have been mentioned by the president, that the road has been done. And Hokwe, we have 4 entry roads. That's from Have, the one that was mentioned, from Have to Hokwe, through to Jasikai, to where the Water Lake is. And we have from Vili to Hokwe, we have Fodome to Hokwe, and all these entry roads are in deplorable states, my brother. And in the previous years, we made to believe that the roads are being constructed. But we, those in Hokwe, know very well that these roads are not roads that anybody can say anything good
An honourable member of parliament, I need to tell you on the record that I'm quite conversant with that stretch of road. It pre-assisted the Akufo-Addo administration. Even the NDC times were not as good.
Exactly. So what happened is not just a talk show or one printed document that has been read to us. As we are talking, when you go to Hokwe, the contractor is on the road. That's the main Hokwe station towards Vegbe. The contractor is on the road. And when you go to Have, where they are building the Agenda 111, the same contractor, that is Greenhouse, they divided their workers into 2. Parts are in Hokwe to Have, and others are from Have coming towards Hokwe, so that they can fast track it. Not only that one, the Hokwe Fodome one to the contractor is on site before even the announcement. And the most important one, which is the one that links Hokwe to Oti and Oti to the north, the bridge on the that Oti River has also been mentioned. So not just that it has been mentioned, but contractors are actually on the road. You see 2 parts. He said roads that will be captured, roads that have been captured under the big push is different from roads that are already under construction, that has been left at where they are because contractors have not been paid. So they have also been captured, which includes the roads, the 4 entry roads that are in my constituency. So it's not a talk show. Contractors are actually on the road working to see to it that the Eastern Corridor road is
we can only hold your government to account on this, and we'll wait to see what then will happen. But since you're on the Finance Committee, just hold on with us. There are some more colleagues who are joining the conversation. Courage Boti, for instance, monitors the Forex, right, and how our Cedi is faring. The Finance Minister has been speaking on that. I'll come back to you, Honourable Member of Parliament, but let me hear from Courage Boti as well, because the Finance Minister has been clear on what's been happening to the Forex. He praises, for instance, Gold Board and how that gold, coordinates together with some fiscal policies that are beginning to yield positive results. We'll get into that. But give me your take first on the performance of the Cedi. He says he's transformed the performance of the currency.
Well, yeah, I think good evening to your listeners. He makes a very instructive statement that we have corrected, or if you like, rolled back the Cedi's bad performance over the last 3 years. So effectively saying has reset the Ghana Cedi to maybe your 2021 levels, and that is a bold thing to say. It really will resonate with people to say that the difficulties you suffered in 2022, 2023, and all of that has been wiped back, and we are resetting back to the 2021 or so levels. What has been done over the period? We saw from the latest IMF staff reports that all through 2024, some 3 billion in total USD has been injected into the system to support the city, about 2 billion in the fourth quarter alone. In quarter one, 2025, about $1.4 billion has been injected. And those are largely due to Ghana's newfound approach to managing FX and reserve using gold. So we've seen, starting from the previous administration, some gold for reserve policy, which accumulated some reserve to about 3 months of import cover as at the time they were exiting ahead of the IMF program's targets for the period. And the gold board had come to even strengthen that, added more transparency to it, and then targeting the small scale sector with regulation and its sanitization of that system. We've seen from the report about 5 billion in export receipt from gold from the small scale sector alone. And there was a bold statement that the small scale sector has exceeded the large scale mining sector in terms of gold export receipts and all that. I think that is a positive development. We are using a non-debt approach to building the reserves, which ultimately will bode well for currency management. We are able to intervene to the magnitudes being mentioned because we have built some reserve. Today, we talk about 4.8 months, and the rate at which we are going, if we sustain it, we could easily find ourselves in very comfortable zones that can build resilience against external shocks and all that.
Here's the fear and the general concern. In fact, the International Monetary Fund is also raising concerns about that, about how government's intervention in the FX market could undermine the progress we're making.
Well, that is where I was headed, actually. I'm trying to conclude the point I was making with the fact that, yes, we are building reserves. And yes, if there are volatility, you smoothing. But we are an economy that operates a managed float, which means that your intervention on the market should largely be to smoothing volatility, where the state, through Bank of Ghana, becomes the key player on the supply side of FX. That is not a stable market. That is not a sustainable market, right? You need to get to the point where private individuals, in fact, inflows and outflows, investment income and all that will drive what you call the liquidity on the market. If the state is that sole supply. And today, you hear a lot of people complain, probably rightly so, that they do not get FX. The documentation issues around buying FX. In many jurisdictions, you cannot just walk to a forest bureau and buy FX. There must be proof of need and the documentation. Today, Bank of Ghana is implementing that strongly. There's a basis on which they will disburse some FX. But we should get to a level where the market is able to operate like that, where they would disburse FX based on documentation and, proof of need, but not because the Bank of Ghana is always intervening on the market. While that helps our cause in the interim, because you want to quell some of the volatilities and all that, it is not a sustainable approach long term. And I don't think that is what Bank of Ghana intends to do in the long term.
Excuse my language here. Who cares? It's $1 to 10 Ghana cedis. Just a little on top of that.
Well, yes, 1 cedi to 10, true. And the question remains that if your approach to sustaining it is through hard currency interventions, then you need to keep the pipeline of growing that reserve levels there so that in times of extreme vulnerability, you can still keep supplying the market. And if your pipeline is not that strong, then in time of trouble, you will be found wanting. That is why you want to strengthen the market to be able to source FS sustainably and then also feed the market sustainably. So for us Ghanaians who want low exchange rate and better cost of living and all that, it sounds all good. But in the day of trouble, where the Bank of Ghana does not have the reserves to do so, that is when the problem will emerge, right? So you want to build the market forces to be able to attract the FX into the market, like the local economy, through productive activities, really, and not some intervention from the reserve level. That is not an optimal way of going around it. Maybe in the time being, given the level the city has fallen to and all that, it was imperative that we do that and we have the reserve to do it. And mind you, reserve is that bullish now because gold is very pricey on the world market.
Yeah.
Gold's normal levels are about 1,007, 1,005 per ounce. Today, we're talking in excess of 3,000 $8,000 USD per ounce and all that. There will be a time when the geopolitical issues, I mean, all of them recede. There will be a time where gold will revert to mean.
Indeed.
At that time, you would see some shock to your reserve. And if you don't have enough to sustain that level of intervention, then you are in trouble. I think those are the things IMF is cautioning about. And it's worth heeding.
We ought to keep our eyes on that, and brings up the issue about, mineral resource governance, not just in Ghana, but across the continent. That's becoming a challenge. I want to hear from Samuel Bekwe, who's one of the leading executives of the CSOs working in the extractive sector. And Samuel Bekwe, you've been sharing your thoughts with us on how the gold board concept was imported somewhere from, is it Guyana, I believe? Here we are today. The finance minister is lauding the efforts of that entity and how it is contributing to stabilizing the Cedi. But experts, including Courage, are raising concerns about sustainability. What do we do then?
Thank you, Blessed. It's quite interesting what Courage has mentioned. I think in some instances he's perfectly accurate when it comes to if you are building reserves or if you are building reserves for your Cedi, it should come with a productive activity. In that case, we are talking about one option where you are building productivity or you are building something to export so that you can get more dollars. That is more sustainable than just having dollars. However, it doesn't change it from a smart move by the current government. Our small-scale mining gold were going out anyway. They were going out without we benefiting. And so the gold board approach, which started to say that why don't we benefit from our small-scale gold by ensuring that we coordinate the export and ensure that whatever export we make, we are bringing back the forex, the dollars that people bring in to come to buy. We've seen a lot of foreigners who used to come in with cash to go into black market, or sometimes they were doing a hawala system to be able to buy gold from the small scale sector. And so if the government has coordinated that approach and said, now I need to see the foreign exchange earnings from that particular sector, I think it is a laudable idea. But for a sustainable time or for sustainability, whilst you have built some import cover and reserves to shore up your Cedi, I think one key thing would be once things have normalized with the Cedi, you need to pursue some fiscal policy to ensure that people are able to generate productive activities to sustain what you have done with a smart move from the gold board. With gold board, I think it has started very well. We understand that they are publishing gold price every day. We understand that that is a bit more transparency. They are buying at a loss. I can tell you for a fact, the price that gold board is buying now using the Bloomberg rate, they are actually running at a loss. I can say for a fact because that is what I know.
Gold board running at a loss? That's
yes,
news to me.
They are buying without any discount. So Blessed, this is what gold board is doing. I think the forex is the primary objective of the government, and because they need the forex, it may at the end of the day, the cost-benefit analysis of the policy may be more beneficial to the immediate buying that they are buying. Currently, gold board is buying with no discount, basically no discount. What they are using is that they are using the exchange rate, which is provided by Bloomberg or Bank of Ghana interbank rate. And that exchange rate is good, but there is no discount. Apologies, my light went off. There is no discount. And so without that particular discount, it means that when they are selling with an off-taker, they cannot sell it at the same price sometimes. Sometimes there may be exchange rate losses. Sometimes they buy today and the price is going low because gold board is buying at a spot price. The price day is what they are buying. And I think that is where the challenge is. But given that it is actually generating more forex for the Bank of Ghana, I think in the interim, it is a very good idea. Going forward, when things sustain, gold board can start to bring in their discount that they had communicated earlier to Ghanaians that they were going to buy at a 2% discount. They can bring that back in the market, and maybe that could stabilize the market as well.
I didn't see this coming. Great perspective there. But you two hold on for me, Courage and Samuel. Of course, I'll come back to you both. So let's look at the fiscal interventions that could address that. Honorable Chekpo, you're with us. You're listening to all of these concerns from the experts, and you serve on the Finance Committee. So it's not all done and dusted for the Finance Minister, you agree, that even this appreciation of the Cedi for some experts is not sustainable. Kindly unmute, sir, so we're able to hear the points you're sharing with us.
Yeah, hi.
Yes, loud and clear, I can hear you.
Thank you. In terms of the appreciation of this... Yes, sorry.
Honorable
Chair,
could
just go on. Go ahead with the point then.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. The finance minister himself made it clear that everything is not rosy. Yes, we have agreed that the forest alone cannot hold without the real sector. So there are a lot of
looks like we seem to be having a challenge there to the Hohwe Member of Parliament, the Honourable Walanyo Check. Well, probably we try again. Can you hear me, sir? Okay. While at that, though, courage is coming, because now we're learning that, of course, Gold Board appears to be working at a non-discounted rate. You know the technicalities, and you know what the implication of that will be.
Well, yes. Even without the discount, let's assume they are even buying. And I'm not discrediting what Samuel Ose has mentioned. I knew about this all this while. The fact that sometimes they are even using the black market rate, which meant that they are, from the word gold, you are buying gold at a price slightly higher than what it should be, just to be competitive, because you want to deal with the black economy people. I mean, the guys who are competing with you to get your attention and all that. So all of those are part of the losses they are racking up. What it means is that if you are investing, how much did the minister mention he's allocated to Gold Board? If you are recycling that money at the end of the day, whatever you put in may not be exactly what you end up recouping. But like Samuel said, probably the short-term gains are assessed to have outweighed the longer-term losses and all that, and maybe over time it will be rationalized, really. I mean, you have to do the trade-offs and then do the cost-benefit analysis at this point in time. If you bring in, you incur that cost, you stabilize the exchange rate, and by that alone, you reduce the external component of the debt by so much. You reduce the debt service cost in Cedi terms by so much, and all of that. Probably that is enough to compensate for the loss you are taking on the other side. So you need to do the cost-benefit analysis, and I don't have any qualms about that at this point in time. But the point I was making is that over the long term, if you sustain that strategy over the long term, and the Gold Board idea is good, it's good to know that the small scale sector of our economy, we are able to realize the revenues from that. And one problem we've had is that we have posted trade surplus over the last 7-8 years, but then we never really truly own a significant portion of that trade surplus. Gold is a big driver of that surplus. If we can own the small scale segment of that part, we'll be making progress towards FX management and reserve accumulation. So it's a great thing, but we need to look at the short-term and long-term trade-offs and try to balance it out so that at the end of the day, we do not run a losing cost, because the sustainability of Gold Board's operation alone in itself depends on they being able to recover the money they put in there. And that they must be minded about over the long term.
Courage, I'll be coming to you on this question again, and probably all of you should have a bite at it. How come prices on the market are not reducing as fast as they should, just as the forex is working? I understand the Member of Parliament for our constituency is back with us. You were just about making an intervention, Honourable Member of Parliament, and of course I'll get back to you, but let me have Courage just do that take for us, because you equally understand that dynamic. So how come we're not seeing the impact on the market?
Well, we are not a controlled economy. In fact, we are a free market economy. People make the choices as to what to sell, when to sell it, what price, and what margins to put on. It is only the competition that can drive that down. And to the extent that, one, you could attribute it to two things. First, what I've said, if they are not motivated to bring prices down, for whatever the reason is. It will stay the way it is because government cannot control the prices. And two, if you do not believe, maybe you've been bidding for so long and you do not believe that all of what is happening on the exchange front is here to stay. And we've seen some of these gains before, maybe not to this magnitude, but we've seen in 2017 some correction in the Cedi, some improvement in macros, and it was all good story then, but it reversed quickly over time. So if you are someone who do not believe in this and you want to remain predictable, then you don't want to do any drastic adjustment to prices now to reflect what is seen until you are convinced over time. So it could be one of those two playing out. We are a market economy. People are within their right to choose what prices to sell, but we also have a choice as buyers to buy how much we want to buy and at where. So if they are minded, then competition, maybe if someone makes that strategy move or reducing price, then the others will follow and all that. But in the meantime, it will be at their pace and at their choice.
Let's do this. Royalties may also be revised, according to the finance minister. Samuel Bekwe, you heard clearly the finance minister talk about that. So I want to start off with you and possibly what the implications could be. Some say it's stoking this sort of anti-investor confidence and the fact that this government appears to be taking that tone of nationalizing mineral resources. It might not exactly be the case, but they seem to have some support even from well-meaning Ghanaians. The need for Ghanaians to equally own the minerals resources space.
Thank you, Blessed. I think that with the royalty argument, let me say that the current we have two different types of royalties, even among the large scale. All the companies that have development agreements have a sliding scale royalty based on the price. But with the current price, all of them are doing 5%, if not more. And so it's the 5% is our fixed rate for the mining companies. Unfortunately, once royalty applies to small scale mining, it has been very difficult for any government, regardless which the government is, to be able to collect this royalty among the small scale miners. Therefore, one of the suggestions, even myself, I would want to make, or I'm glad that the minister have made, is should we reduce the small scale mining royalties and make it more attractive to them to pay so that royalties could generate additional revenue? Or should we revise the sliding scale, the range, which we have a sliding scale in the development agreement? I think revising royalties to go up more than 5% may not be the best, because even in Ghana, another information I would like to put out here is the fact that royalties are deductible. These are not monies that comes to us straightforward. It is deductible when the companies are doing their accounts. They deduct it as part of cost. So it is a guaranteed money to the government at the start of production or operation, but it doesn't mean it is free to Ghanaians or it is free to the government. So if government want more money, they could work with the companies and increase that royalty rate, but because it's deductible, it may not have a bigger impact on the company's own operations as well. So that is another option that government could consider. That is, if government is in need of more money as of now.
So what should we be doing then? Increasing the royalties, or being discriminatory, as you're suggesting?
I think that we should maintain what we have, because increasing royalty could also send some sensitive information out there, whereby we may not be a bit more competitive with our peers. However, I say this with caution. Ghana is completely de-risked when it comes to gold mining. We are completely de-risked because we've been mining since 1897, and everybody knows that we have a gold belt or a vein, and they know that we have gold in there. So that could send a signal for new investors, but those existing investors could continue to operate and reinvest more in the sector as well.
Should this government be banging its hopes on mineral resources? Because that's what they seem to be doing. And, well, for some, it's working. Once it's working, it's not broken. So why fix it then?
It is very important because mineral resources, as we said, these are exhaustible resources. When you finish it, it is finished. You will never get it back again when you mine a gold from one place. And so the utilization of those revenues should be put into a more sustainable development. And under this government, they have made a promise, which we will hold them to, that they are going to invest all our mineral resources and petroleum resources under the big push, so that they can develop certain multi-year mammoth infrastructure that would generate more social returns in the longer term, and also could also generate some economic return. So for instance, if you are putting our mineral and petroleum resources into the bridges and the roads and you are putting a toll on them, it means you are making some economic return in the interim whilst you continue to enhance, you also increase social return in the longer term, because those roads, if well maintained, would increase access to market, among others, hospital and other social benefit that we may gain from that. So I would say that is what we have been preaching for good governance, whereby you put the money in a infrastructure that may generate sustainable benefit. And if this government has decided to do that, what we call for is a more transparency. Whenever the government award a contract under any of the project they have selected, they should let the public know. They should let the public know, they should let the communities know, so that they can hold those contractors accountable. And at the same time, whenever they are paid, they should ensure that, because those monies are coming from somewhat unassured sources, even though there may be some fluctuations in the prices, which may affect the revenue as well in terms of volatility. They should ensure that whenever they pay the contractors on time and be able to also monitor the activities of these contractors. I think that would be a very good thing. We have been calling for it from PIAC to civil society, saying that put the money in fewer projects that may have bigger impact. We have always used the Temamoto Way as an example. We've used some of the bridges and interchanges as an example. And if that is what they are doing, all what we call for is more transparent in terms of procurement, transparent in terms of contracts and contract award, and also monitoring those contractors once they have been given those contracts.
Let's dig in. Big push, financing coming largely from petroleum. But you know, and of course, PIAC is replete with so many reports of how petroleum financing, or I mean development financing on petroleum resources have been abused in times past.
I would like to say that it is not just even petroleum resources. PIAC, I'm a member of PIAC, and we went to meet the president, and the president was very clear that it's both petroleum and mineral resources. So the monies that have been taken from MIF is going to also go into the big push. Over the years, as we've mentioned as PIAC, a lot of the accountability mechanisms that accompanies these petroleum revenue expenditures have not been the best. We have achieved a lot of transparency, but it is going into the same petroleum in terms of the public financial management system, whereby accountability, you saw the Auditor General report, the accountability on that particular public financial management system has not been the best. And so we suggest that the accountability and the transparency we've achieved at PIAC should go down into, after projects have been awarded, more and more continuous monitoring of people who are implementing the project and ensuring that beneficiaries that are supposed to benefit from the project also are benefiting from that particular project. So we are calling for that particular accountability at the down level as well, and not just up there when we know that we've allocated project to this, we have allocated money to this project and that money. We've also suggesting that there should be more expenditure verification analysis of projects, because Blessed, I can tell you for a fact, we have mentioned the Hohoi road, for instance. There could be the first allocation going into only purchasing of cars for monitoring, whilst the road have not started. You saw the Keta Beach that happened under the previous government. We didn't even have a port, but we were spending money. And if you do expenditure verification, you'll be able to assess to know that the money has been spent, but it is not achieving the objective of the project. And that's why I'm even encouraging my colleagues at PIAC and myself to ensure that we use expenditure verification to do some of our independent assessment. But we want to assure the government that we will monitor whatever monies they are sending from petroleum revenues under the big push, and ensure that we account to Ghanaians as PIAC mandate requires.
Okay, how about we do a legal framework tightening, or perhaps a new legislation? And I just want to start off with Courage on that, then I come back to you, Samuel. On tightening how we channel funds from petroleum resources and other mineral investments into infrastructure. Courage, how do we do that?
Well, the government has made the first bold move in trying to commit mineral and oil resources to infrastructure investment. The initial arrangement under the PFMS2, the government has the leverage to choose which few sectors they need to invest those monies. In past administrations, including John Mahama's earlier administration, we've seen it targeted at 8 sectors, including health, education, agriculture, stuff like that. So there is already a legal provision. And truth be told, if you target oil resources, mineral resources, maybe to infrastructure today, we are a developing nation with diverse needs. What if tomorrow the need is not really infrastructure, but something else? So I think the provision and law that allows prioritization based on need is actually enough. So it means that you cannot use oil resources for any other thing outside what it is you program it to do. If there are abuses of that, then of course it can be dealt with. But I think the flexibility to switch between maybe this time, maybe for the next 2 years or so under this administration, it is infrastructure, and that's fine because there is a major need. Maybe in 10, 12 years to come, it is not roads, it's not hospitals, but it's something major, something else that is quite major. Then there is that flexibility to go in there. So I think there is already a legislative provision that guides what is done.
Yeah,
and
but I'm asking I'm asking the question precisely because of the experience with the free senior high school policy, for instance.
Well, yeah. So, and that is where the work PIAC and other civil society organizations do is very important. The problem is not free SHS. The problem is making sure every peso spent has some value to the economy and where it's going. I mean, he just mentioned something quite instructive, that the initial disbursement could be buying cars to monitor a road that they've not even started constructing. Clearly, that is not used. So if there's some tightening of the rules around what specifically oil funds, petroleum resources should be disbursed towards, then that will be an improvement in the current existing arrangement. But that is my thinking around it. I don't think hard coding that dedicate all of oil and mineral resources to maybe infrastructure construction. At the time, it looks good. And given that these are depletable resources and you must spend them in a way that brings value, it is good. But think of it this way. Other countries who are resource rich and are looking to prepare after the depletion of those resources are also attracting investors into their country and are granting scholarships to people to study, so they build human capital to take over when the mineral resources are gone. It's also equally an important investment. So tying it to infrastructure and law may not be the most prudent. I think the flexibility to allocate it as and when you deem fit based on the needs of the time, I think it's a good way around it, in my view.
Yeah, that's obviously an alternative for the finance minister to consider. We'll get your overall impression about the performance of the economy shortly and what the outlook, I mean, whatever outlook it is that you'd want to, speak on. But this is what I want us to do. Let me get your thoughts, Samuel, first of all, on the point once more about policing this whole big push agenda and what you intend to do at PIAC. Because whatever be the case, there's executive power to spend. That's why I was, bringing up the issue about tightening legislative provisions, trying to determine the threshold for each government, successive governments, to run with.
Thank you, Blessed. The government can consider the following. One, creating a specific code. We already have one for ABFA in the budget. But before a project selected under Big Push will be approved, even before it goes to Parliament, they need to design the project, indicate the project details about program preparation. We call project preparation. If it was a donor program, you would have said a program development or a program proposer, whereby it indicates clear beneficiaries, clear objectives, and clear timelines for implementation. And then it has to be approved either by internally within the Ministry of Finance, or if they want, they could include PIAC as another level of approval, whereby this project is approved before it goes into the Public Investment Division program or project. And that project, before it heads into, it's accepted into the budget, all what I have mentioned would have been done. So without a project being prepared, it cannot enter into the big push program budget. In that case, you have clear monitoring and evaluation parameters that can allow the public, the communities, or PIAC, or any other accountability body, whether civil society or government or state accountability bodies, to monitor in terms of timelines, to monitor payments, to monitor procurement, among others, and track all those expenditures. I think we have done that before. The N1 project was a completely different project. We had a civil society co-opted as part of the overall committee that oversaw the N1 project. Because it was handled and funded by the Americans, they treated it separately from the government budget system or Public Financial Management Act system. And that was a very good success. We saw how the surprising time they were able to implement the N1 project and complete it. And so that is what I expect the government to do when it comes to the big push.
Okay, let's do the outlook then, because we're looking into the future. You have any peculiar concerns, or you want to hazard a guess on what might happen in the next half of the year?
I think I suggest that the government maintains the prudent fiscal management of the economy. We have seen that the government is not spending anyhow. There are some spikes when it comes to exchange rate demand, when it comes to dollar demand. We have the September-October spike, whereby people are stocking up for Christmas. If the Cedi is able to withstand that particular spike, I would say that we may have gotten ourselves a whole year stability, which hasn't happened for a very long time. And so we need to look at that spike and prepare ourselves. Currently, the minister said the Bank of Ghana has built 8-month import cover. This has not happened for a very long time. At some point last year or 2 years ago, we had only 6 weeks. Some even said we had only 2-3 weeks of import cover reserves. And so with them to be able to build this, I think it's a very stable, it gives us a very stable future. Hopefully it is sustained. But what I would say, like what Courage said, we should ensure that it is backed by production, some productive activity, including whether we are channeling some investment into more export promotion to ensure that it goes and also add on more addition into the dollar that we are getting from gold. So it shouldn't be only one, because as Courage mentioned, should there be a very massive or a sharp decline in the price of gold, even though it doesn't happen that way, gold prices are less volatile than oil prices. Oil can be 80 today and tomorrow is 40. Whilst gold is 3,000, it could take some time before it gets to 1,005, but it's still volatile. Once it becomes very volatile, the value of reserves you are building from the small scale, regardless of the production numbers from small scale, will reduce. And I think that's why we have to diversify the policy, the fiscal policy and the monetary policy we are using to stabilize the city. Okay. But I think it is a very fairly stable outlook that we have, I can see.
Great interventions there. Courage, I want you to wrap up for me with your own outlook. We cannot be oblivious about what will happen in September, the spikes that Samuel is talking about. Beyond that, Professor Bokpin was saying the other day on the show that there's also the aspect about honoring our obligations. The energy sector, then you look at the big push and the payment of contractors. That will certainly pile some pressure on the city. Your own outlook?
Well, yes, and rightly so, right? At some point, we are going to start payment. And you heard the minister today say, I think 26 or so billion of those arrears have been verified for payment. We've had a number of road projects being mentioned as a project that would resume. And of course, there is going to be external debt service. Some Eurobonds are maturing next year, will be serviced and all that. So the expenditure pressures will come. I would just want to say, I mean, along the same lines as Samuel, that the behavior of government that delivered the first 6 months that we are probably talking about today need not be altered significantly. The discipline. Yes, we are a developing nation. We need to spend to grow. No doubt about that. But while at it, let's make sure that every cedi spent generates value to the economy. That is how we can grow, because we don't have limitless resources, and then we can be responsible in expenditure. But be that as may, I am all for cutting expenditure, but I just want to sound probably this play this devil's advocate, or maybe sound this caution that let us not go on the expenditure cutting tangent for the populist, maybe, or for the cosmetic effects, really. Things like DSTV subscription, things like fuel. Look, private sector people who deliver value enjoy perks, they enjoy good packages. And if you want to attract the best brains, I'm making an example of the KPMG country manager that is now the head of GRA. In his office, DSTV may not be an issue at KPMG. In his office, fuel allowance, he would have it in abundance. If we begin to go that line of making it look like public servants do not deserve their wages, you may not get the right people to run the right offices. So let us balance the whole expenditure cutting also with some tact so that we do not scare away well-meaning people. But if we can maintain the behavior that delivered the Cedi appreciation, the behavior that delivered the inflation coming down, and it's all into the expenditure, the fiscal. We have seen clearly that if fiscal is behaved, all the other macros will respond.
All right.
And we have seen that in interest rate and all that. So we should sustain that behavior, even if we are spending to grow.
Well, grateful for your time, Courage Buti, and to you, Samuel Bekwe, for joining us. Also to the Honourable Member of Parliament, Hohwe constituency, for spending some time with us here on UPFront. Grateful to all of you. We'll see you again. It's a wrap.